So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Prelims Powerplay. In this lecture series, we cover all the important topics from past 1 year's current affairs, and we have divided all these important topics into subjects. Okay, so all the important news items, all the important current affairs that were there in past 1 year's newspapers will be covered through this lecture series. Okay, and we have done the hard work for you. We have divided all these current affairs into subjects and we will cover each and every subject one by one. Okay, so that your revision becomes a little easier, because subject wise revision or doing subject wise revision is better rather than covering current affairs like on the trot. Okay, so this is a lecture series to help you out for your prelims examination this year. Now, if you have been following this lecture series for quite some time now, you know this by now that we have started with economics. So the subject that we have started with in this prelims power play series is economics, and we are covering all the important news items, all the important topics with respect to economics in the past 1 year's current affairs through this lecture series. Okay, now so far in our economics prelims power play lecture series, we have covered economic growth and development. We have covered banking and finance. We have covered fiscal policy. Today, we are going to start with budget, because this year's budget was presented and we all know how important a document budget is for your examination, both prelims as well as mains. Therefore, we need to cover all the important things that were discussed in this year's budget, important from the perspective of them featuring in your prelims examination. Okay, we have solely focused on prelims examination. Only those topics would be focused on which have a high chance of featuring in your prelims examination. All right, so today, without further ado, because time is of the essence, I always say this, not much time is left in your prelims examination. Time is of the essence. Therefore, we will straight away dive into the lecture. We will straight away start with this lecture. All right, so let's start. So today we are going to talk about budget. Okay, budget, well, all the important news items with respect to budget, all the important topics with respect to budget. Now, what are those important topics that we will cover in this lecture, or the lectures that would cover this budget portion? So in total, 8 topics. Okay, number 1 is mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses. Basically, we'll be covering all those important announcements that were made by Honorable Finance Minister in this year's budget. Okay, so one is the launch of mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses, self-reliance in pulses. We'll cover this. Then we will cover the issue of gender budgeting. Then government came out with a new income tax code, new income tax regime. We'll talk about this. Then Makhana. Makhana is a edible product. Okay, foxnut basically in English. Makhana board in Bihar. Why was this announced? Well, we'll talk about this. Then schemes related to Make in India in this year's budget. We'll talk about that. Then key takeaways from budget, key takeaways from economic survey. And Honorable Finance Minister basically introduced certain terms which are related to climate finance. We will discuss this topic as well. All right, so let's start discussing all these topics one by one, starting with mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses. Okay, let's start with that. So see, the thing is that India is predominantly, I shouldn't say majority, but India has a lot of vegetarians, right? In fact, as far as the share of vegetarians in the population is concerned, India is right at the top. Okay, though that share is around 30 to 35%, but still it's quite large as compared to other countries. Now, for vegetarians, pulses are an important source of protein. Okay, because India has the highest share of vegetarians. Well, India also consumes a lot of pulses because pulses are an important source of protein in vegetarian diet. Plus, all over the world, we are also seeing this new phenomena of veganism. Okay, people are shifting to vegan diets, not just in India, internationally. If they are shifting to vegan diets, again, for them, an important source of protein can be pulses. And protein is an important macronutrient in all of us, okay, in all our diets. Right? Therefore, consumption of pulses becomes important in that context. All right. Now, you need to know a few things about India when it comes to pulses. You know, India is the largest producer of pulses in the world. We produce the most amount of pulses in the world. We are the largest producer of pulses in the world. But because of a substantial share of vegetarian population, we are also the largest consumer of pulses in the world. So we are the largest producer. We are also the largest consumer. There is one more thing. The thing is, yes, we are the largest producer, but our consumption levels are so high that our production levels are not able to match it. Okay, we are the largest consumer after all. So we are the largest producers, we are the largest consumers, but our consumption levels are so high that there is this gap between production levels and consumption levels. And this gap is met through imports. Now, such is the amount or quantum of this gap. I mean, this gap is huge, that India is also the largest importer of pulses. So India has three achievements. We are the largest producer of pulses. We are the largest consumer of pulses. We are also the largest importer of pulses. We import a lot of pulses. Now, India wants to reduce this import bill. Okay, we really want to reduce this import bill. We really want to become self-sufficient when it comes to pulses. So what do we have to do for that? For that, consumption levels are here, production levels are here. So we need to increase our production levels so that it matches the consumption levels and we become self-reliant as far as pulses are concerned. Now, it is for this purpose and this purpose alone, well, government has launched this scheme or mission, Atmanirbharta in pulses. Okay, so let's talk about this. You understand the context now, all right? So Atmanirbharta in pulses. Okay, now about this scheme. So the main aim of this scheme is to achieve self-sufficiency in pulses. India wants to become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant when it comes to pulses production. Okay, and India has said, or the government has said, that though we will focus on all pulses crops, but primarily we will focus on three crops. Okay, tur or arhar, which is pigeon pea, urad, which is black gram, masoor, which is red lentil. So this mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses will focus on these three pulses crops primarily. Okay, though if the mission becomes successful, well, government will extend it to other pulses crops, but we are primarily focusing on these three crops only. Okay, now some other information about this scheme. Well, the entire budget for this scheme has been kept at 1,000 crores. The tenure or the time for this mission is 6 years. So we have to achieve self-sufficiency in pulses production by 2028-29. Okay, by 29. And what is the strategy that we are going to follow under this mission to improve self-sufficiency in these three pulses crops? First of all, we will ensure MSP-based procurement. Okay, as you all know that MSP is announced for 22 crops. Okay, 14 of them are Kharif crops, 6 of them are Rabi crops, and 2 are commercial. Now the thing is that MSP is announced so as to give a guarantee to farmers that if the prices in the market are extremely low, then government will come to you and procure this crop at this minimum guaranteed price, minimum support price, right? Now pulses are included in this list of 22 crops. But the thing is, and this is important, the thing is that procurement by government agencies are biased in favor of rice and wheat. Government agencies are heavily focused on procurement of rice and wheat. And that is why, apart from rice and wheat, they generally ignore all the other 20 crops. Not completely ignore them, but they do. I mean, more focus is put on rice and wheat. Okay, I'll tell you one more thing. MSP is important if you really want to improve production, because India has become self-sufficient in rice and wheat, and it is because of MSP. Because with MSP, you give guarantee to farmers that your crop will be sold at high price. So more and more farmers grow rice and wheat, and that is why India is self-sufficient when it comes to rice and wheat. Okay, but India is not self-sufficient when it comes to pulses. Okay, despite the fact that MSP is announced for pulses, yet India or Indian farmers do not choose that much are not in that much favor of pulses than they are in rice and wheat. And the reason for that is, well, procurement, like I said, is heavily biased in favor of rice and wheat. In fact, we follow two types of procurement. One is called open-ended procurement. The other is called targeted procurement. Okay. Open-ended procurement means that whenever a farmer will go to a government agency is forced to buy that crop from him at MSP. Okay, that is open-ended. Unlimited amounts of crops can be sold to government agencies. This is an open-ended procurement. What is targeted procurement? Targeted procurement is that government sets itself a target. Let's suppose government says that we will produce or procure 50 metric tons of pulses. Okay, so as soon as government procures 50 metric tons, government will close down its shop. Now afterwards, if a farmer comes with his pulses crop to the government, well, government will refuse procurement because government has met its target, right? So open-ended and targeted, you understand the difference? Now, when it comes to rice and wheat, government follows open-ended procurement. But when it comes to all the other crops, government follows targeted procurement at MSP. So despite the fact that MSP is declared for pulses as well, procurement is mostly focused on rice and wheat, and that is why not many farmers are interested in growing pulses. So government has said that under this mission for Atmanirbharta, we will focus on MSP based procurement, and we will actually shift towards open-ended. So these government agencies, NAFED and NCCF, if farmers register with them and do contracts with them, NAFED and NCCF will procure pulses from farmers, from registered farmers, through open-ended approach. Okay, now this would basically encourage more and more farmers to grow pulses. So we will improve our production levels. Plus, most of the pulses crops, well, they rot after harvesting because there are not many warehousing or storage facilities. So under this mission, government will also focus on warehousing and storage facilities. So most of these crops, pulses crops, do not get wasted or they rot after harvest. So post-harvest warehousing will also be focused on. So twin objectives would be solved, or twin objectives would be achieved through this mission: MSP-based procurement, post-harvest warehousing. Through this, government hopes that within 6 years, production levels would reach consumption levels and we would become self-reliant. Simple. Now let's talk about, well, this is the import of pulses. Like I said before, we are the largest producer, largest consumer, and largest importer. Now, between 2017 and 2022-23, you can see there has been a decline in pulses import. That means our production levels increased. But just after 2022-23, our imports skyrocketed. Right? So we were about to reach self-sufficiency, but then something happened and we are again far away from the goal of self-sufficiency in food production, pulses production. Any which way, this is the chart that I wanted to share. Now, this mission has been launched and government hopes that it will achieve self-sufficiency. But there are two challenges with respect to this mission being successful. What are those two challenges? Well, number one, when we talk about most pulses, for example, tur and arhar, okay, currently the tur arhar farming requires 250 to 270 days and the yield is 20 quintals per hectare. Now the growing time is too much and the yield is too little. Though many seed breeders have created innovative type of seeds which have reduced growing time from 150 to 180 days, but the yield has also reduced to 50 quintals. Okay, as a result of this, many farmers who can afford, who are a little bit well off, they don't go for pulses. Okay, they go for rice and wheat. Because with this little yield and so much time to grow this crop, plus there is little MSP protection when it comes to pulses, farmers opt out of pulses. Okay, as a result, pulses production is confined to rain-fed regions of Maharashtra, Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, northern Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh. Okay, This is the reason. So what is the need of the hour? Under this mission, government needs to focus or allow for more research and development and investment in hybrid varieties. Okay, hybrid seeds. So much so that these hybrid seeds basically reduce the time from 140 to 150 days. Okay, so the time required to produce pulses shortens and the yield increases to 20 yield. Okay, 20 quintals per hectare. So this should be done. Otherwise, this mission would be unsuccessful. Second, government has to bring in a little bit of clarity when it comes to pulses. Clear? The thing is, currently there is no import duty on import of pulses. Therefore, importers readily import pulses from abroad. So imported pulses are available for cheap in Indian markets. That is why market price of domestically produced pulses is also low. Therefore, farmers are disincentivized to grow pulses because they think the market price is low and there is no MSP protection. Therefore, I should go to rice and wheat only. Right? So we need to put import duty on imported pulses so that these imported pulses are expensive in India, so that more and more people buy domestically produced. Okay, but there is little clarity as far as government policy is concerned. Government flip-flops a lot. And the reason for that is that the government has to balance the interests of consumers and farmers. For consumers, government wants that pulses should be cheap. Therefore, government allows cheap imports. But for farmers, government needs to increase import duty so that farmers get good price. Government has to make this delicate balance. Therefore, if you want this mission to be successful, well, you need to bring in more clarity as far as your policy is concerned. Without these two, well, this mission won't be successful. Okay, let's gather a little bit more information about pulses. So like I said, India is the largest producer, consumer and importer of pulses. 23% of area under food grains and 9 to 10% of total food grain production is dedicated to pulses. 60%, like there are different pulses which are grown in Kharif season, different in Rabi. 60% of the pulses grown in India are grown in Rabi season. Okay, the largest pulses crop that is grown in India is gram, 40%, followed by tur. And there are 3 states which top the charts when it comes to pulses production: MP, Maharashtra, Rajasthan. All right. Overall challenges of pulses production are low productivity. Okay. Because of green revolution, procurement is biased in favor of rice and wheat. We have discussed this. Lack of technology and high yielding varieties to farmers. Post harvest losses because lack of storage infrastructure. And most of the productive land goes towards rice and wheat. And barren land is used for pulses because only poor farmers go for pulses. Rich farmers who have access to fertile land go for rice and wheat because there are more incentives, financial incentives for rice and wheat. Therefore, this mission has to solve all these challenges if it has to make India self-reliant in pulses production by 2029. Simple. All right. Okay. So now that we have this out of the way, let's shift to topic number 2, which is gender budgeting. Okay. Now, as you all know that women empowerment is the stated goal of Government of India, right? We want women empowerment. Now, to ensure women empowerment, we have a lot of schemes to empower women, to basically ensure their safety and security, to basically ensure their education, health and whatnot. Okay, so we have a variety of schemes targeting women so as to ensure women empowerment. Now, we need to know how much we are doing for women through these schemes. Okay, how much money we have allocated to these schemes which target women empowerment, right? Therefore, back in the day, back in 2005-6, government came out with a rule. And that rule was that along with the presentation of budget, government will also present a statement that is known as gender budget statement. In that statement, government will actually tell us, okay, that how much money is going to going towards women empowerment, okay, and government will give us scheme by scheme data. That through this scheme, 30% of the budget of this scheme is going towards women empowerment. 80% of the budget of this scheme is going towards women empowerment. 50% of Manrega budget is going to women empowerment. Okay, 20% of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is going to women empowerment. So this scheme wise scheme data, as far as the budget allocation towards women empowerment is concerned, shall be given in gender budget statement. Okay, and this phenomena is known as gender budgeting. So India has been following gender budgeting since 2005-6. Okay, so we'll talk about gender budgeting. Okay, some information that you need to know about gender budgeting, because an MCQ might be constructed. Okay, so you need to know about this. So let's talk about it. Okay, so gender budgeting. All right. Now with budget, it is mandatory for the government, not a legal responsibility, but government has made a rule that along with budget every year, along with the presentation of budget every year, we will present gender budget statement. Okay. This process was started in financial year 2005-6, and it includes schemes with full or part allocation for women and girls. So all schemes in which budget is allocated to women or girls, either fully or partially, shall be listed down. Okay. Now within this gender budget statement, all the schemes are divided into three parts. Okay. Part A consists of those schemes whose 100% budget goes towards women. Okay. Part B contains those schemes whose 30 to 99% of the budget goes towards women. And Part C contains those schemes whose 1 to 29% goes towards women budget. Okay. So Part A are those schemes whose 100% budget goes towards women. Then this is 30 to 99, then this is 1 to 29. All right. As you can see, this breakup, you can see in this, orange is part B, okay, blue is part A, and green is part C, where very little amount of budget is dedicated towards women empowerment. It contains those schemes. As you can see, majority of the schemes are part B, okay, then part A, which are 100% women oriented, and then part C, which has recently emerged, okay, after 2022-23. Right. Now, some of the examples of part A, part B. So part A schemes contain Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, because Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is basically house construction scheme. Okay. So houses, basically the scheme ensures housing for all. Okay. Now, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana ensures housing for all, and G stands for Gramin. That means rural areas. Now, government has made it mandatory that all new houses that will be allocated under this scheme shall be registered in the name of women member of the family. Okay, that is why 100% of the budget of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is basically calculated as going towards women. That is why it is in part A. Then National Rural Livelihoods Mission 100% focuses on, well, women empowerment. Then part B includes Poshan Abhiyan 2.0, Mission Saksham Anganwadi. So all of this goes towards women empowerment only. So these two schemes, Poshan Abhiyan, Mission Saksham, are included in both part A and part B. The reason for that is that some of the sub schemes of Poshan Abhiyan are 100% towards women, some of them are partly. That is why both these schemes are put in, both part A and part B. Any which way, don't get confused. Okay. Then Jal Jeevan Mission is part B. Then part C has very little allocation for women. Okay, it includes all the other schemes like rural development programs. If rural development programs focus 10% of their budget on females, well, that is part C, infrastructure development and many more. All right, simple. So these are the examples, and that's where we will conclude this topic. It's a short topic. Okay, and now let's shift to third topic, which is new tax regime. All right, now new tax regime. Basically, what government has done is, now when I say new tax regime, I'm talking about income tax. And government has changed income tax law. Plus, government introduced some changes in this year's budget in the income tax. Okay, government has made it more simple to file taxes. Now, if taxation is simplified, then more and more people file taxes. So tax compliance increases, government's tax revenue increases. Okay, government wants to make the life of taxpayers easy, right? So that is why through this budget, government has come out with this new taxation regime in which income tax collection will be simplified. The burden of taxation would be little less, okay? And government has come out with some good news for the middle class, at least those who are earning less than 12 lakhs per year, okay, or up to 12 lakhs per year. So government has come out with some benefit for these. So let's talk about this. All right. So new taxation regime. Okay. So what's in this? So first of all, earlier, well, if you pay income taxes, okay, then you would get some rebate so that your income tax gets reduced. Now that rebate was up to 7 lakhs per annum. Okay, your income of 7 lakhs per annum. Now that has been increased to 12 lakhs per annum. So if you are earning up to 12 lakhs per annum, all right, then you can basically make sure that you pay zero taxes. You can avail this rebate. So the limit of rebate has been increased. Now this would really help middle class people who earn up to 1 lakh per month or 12 lakhs per annum. Okay, this would really help them. Clear? Plus this new tax regime has zero exemptions. So basically government has given us an option. Okay, government says that now there are two taxation systems: new taxation regime, old taxation regime. Okay, now within old taxation regime there were various exemptions. So house renting allowance, many rebates, and there were many exemptions, rebates, so that your overall tax comes down. Within new tax regime, all these rebates and all these exemptions, sorry, not rebates, exemptions have been done away with, except one rebate that is up to 12 lakhs. All these exemptions have been done away with in this new taxation regime. So because new taxation regime has no exemptions, it is simpler to understand, easier to file. Old taxation regime is complicated. Now the government has given the choice to the taxpayers. Whether they want to stay with the old taxation regime, they can do it. Okay, some of the people, some of the income taxpayers were getting benefits of these exemptions, so they would stay in this old taxation regime. Others who feel that they want to avail the benefit, they can enter new taxation regime. The benefit of new taxation regime is rebate is from 7 lakh to 12 lakh, plus there are no exemptions. So if you are getting this benefit of 12 lakh, you have to give up on exemptions. Okay, this is the case. Plus, as per the new income tax law, government has shifted towards assessment year approach, financial year approach rather than assessment year approach. Now, what do we mean by financial year approach and assessment year approach? Okay, as you all know that financial year is generally, for example, 2024-25. Okay, began on 1st April 2024, ended on 31st March 2025. Clear? Now the thing is, whatever income you have earned in this year, you will pay taxes on this income that you earned in this year in next year. Okay, so income earned between 2024-25 will, income tax on that will be paid in 2025-26. Okay, so under income tax law, this was known as assessment year. So as per assessment approach, whatever income you're earning this year, you will have to pay taxes on it in the next financial year. The next financial year would be called assessment year. So 2025-26 is the assessment year for 2024-25. Now this was the approach that was followed. Now the government has proposed that we are going to shift to financial year approach. Under financial year approach, you will pay taxes in the same financial year. So the tax will be paid in the same financial year. You don't have to wait for one more year. So assessment year concept is completely done away with. I mean, the government has just proposed it. Okay. And within the same financial year, you will earn the income and pay taxes also. This is financial year approach. Remember this term, okay? An MCQ might be created out of it. The difference between assessment year approach and financial year approach. So government has proposed to shift to financial year approach because now with the help of technology, you can pay taxes, earn income and pay taxes within the same year with the help of technology. Now assessment has become fast. Okay. When technology was not that great, then we had to wait for 1 year to completely assess the income. Now with technology, we can quickly assess the income. So this approach can be followed. Now, what are going to be the advantages of these new changes? First of all, by increasing the rebate from 7 lakh to 12 lakhs, well, government has reduced burden on middle class. And we have talked about this in fiscal policy also, that by reducing burden on middle class, what is the government trying to do? Well, now that the middle class has less burden of taxes, they will have more income, disposable income in their hands. They will use it to spend more on goods and services. That would increase consumer spending, that would increase aggregate demand, and that would lead to economic growth. Because after all, what was GDP? C plus I plus, we have discussed this, plus X minus M, where C is consumption spending, I is investment spending, G is government spending, X is exports, M is imports. So by reducing taxes on people, government is trying to boost this C. And when the C increases as per this formula, GDP will also increase. So this is a way to fire up the economy, to basically unleash the economy. Now people will have more money, they'll spend it on goods and services, right? And economy would get boosted. So this is the purpose. Plus, government through new taxation regime has tried to simplify the tax code by giving up on exemptions. Earlier, with so many exemptions, tax code was a little complicated. And when tax code is complicated, it is very difficult to file taxes because it is complicated by the help of all these CAs and all, right? And complications increase disputes and it really hurts tax compliance. Now, with simplified tax code, burden of filing income tax return gets reduced on people, and this improves tax compliance. So more and more people will pay income tax and file income tax returns, and that is good news for the government. Yes, makes sense, right? Okay, that's all we need to discuss as far as this topic is concerned. Okay, and now let's talk about another topic, last topic for today, and that is Makhana board in Bihar. Because this was the announcement made by Government of India in this year's budget. Finance Minister actually made this announcement that we will create a Makhana board in Bihar so as to improve Makhana production in Bihar. Okay, Makhanas are these edible things which are highly nutritious. They are becoming very popular among fitness enthusiasts. Okay, and 90% of Makhanas in India come from Bihar. That is why government wants to help farmers of this crop. Okay, and for that reason, government is establishing Makhana board, which will improve the life of farmers, help farmers earn more money on it, improve the production of Makhana, so that government can capitalize on this rising demand for Makhanas. Globally, rising demand for Makhanas, especially among fitness enthusiasts. Okay, so for this reason and this reason alone, government is establishing a Makhana board. That is what was announced in this year's budget. Okay, so this Makhana board will improve Makhana production in Bihar because this will be a Makhana board for Bihar. Okay, like we have Tea Board of India. Similarly, we'll have Makhana board. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, so Makhana board in Bihar. Now, first of all, you need to know what Makhanas are, right? So they are also known as foxnut in English. Okay, it is a dried edible seed. So Makhanas are edible seeds of the prickly water lily or gorgon plants. Okay, so these are flowery plants. They have very nice flowers. Their seeds are edible. These seeds are called foxnut or Makhanas. Okay, now these water lilies grow in freshwater ponds of Asia, basically South Asia and Southeast Asia, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, and India. Okay, so freshwater ponds of Asia. Now, when it comes to India, Bihar contributes 90% of Makhana production. So 90% of the Makhanas that are there in India, are consumed in India, come from Bihar alone. Rest of the 10% comes from Assam, Bengal, Manipur, Tripura, Odisha, and 1 or 2% are also imported from Southeast Asia, China and all. Okay, most of it comes from Bihar. Now, what is the significance of Makhanas? Why is there a rise in Makhana consumption in India? First of all, Makhanas, foxnuts, are basically part of or culturally part of Hindu rituals. So in many Hindu rituals, makhanas are used. So culturally, they have been a part of Hindu rituals for centuries. But now, because of its nutritious quality and because it has been declared by many fitness enthusiasts as superfood, a food that contains so many nutrients that it should be consumed by people, at least who care about their fitness. Because it has become popular as a superfood among fitness enthusiasts, well, its consumption has increased. Now its popularity has increased as a superfood among fitness enthusiasts. Okay, because of this, currently global makhana market is around $44 million. But people say in 7-8 years, by 2033, it will reach 100 million or maybe even more. Now, like I said, Bihar contributes 90% of total makhanas. Okay, in fact, one particular kind of makhana grown in Mithila has also received a GI tag. In 2022, Mithila makhana received GI tag. Like Darjeeling tea has GI tag. Similarly, Mithila makhana has GI tag. Now, what is the problem then? Why do we need to set up makhana board? Well, the thing is, well, Bihar has a lot of challenges, infrastructural challenges. And because of that, makhana farmers have, well, faced low productivity. Okay. Plus, these makhanas that are produced by these farmers, well, within Bihar, there are no food processing plants. Okay. Generally, when you eat these makhanas or buy these makhanas from the supermarket, what do? These makhanas are salted, polished, and then given to you, right? They're not directly given to you from the farms. They're processed first, right? The thing is that Bihar does not have enough food processing facilities. And because of that, most of these makhanas are not processed in Bihar. The farmers sell these unprocessed makhanas for very cheap prices. So first crisis is low productivity. Then with absence of food processing units, okay, and good infrastructure facilities, farmers get very low prices. Okay. Plus, there are not enough marketing chains in Bihar that would give good prices to these farmers. So because of this, Bihar, despite being the largest producer, is unable to take advantage of the growing domestic and international demand. Because of these fitness enthusiasts, well, demand for makhanas has increased considerably. But Bihar is unable to take advantage of this. Right? Now, what is the problem? What are the challenges? Okay. Like I said, Bihar grows 90% of makhanas, but Bihar does not have enough food processing units. So what happens is, and this is funny, makhanas are produced in Bihar. These farmers sell these makhanas at very cheap prices to food processing units. These food processing units process it, add ingredients, add preservatives, and do proper processing, package it in good packings, and then sell it in India, as well as, well, they export it. And they export it and sell it in India at very high prices. Okay, very high prices. So they buy these makhanas for cheap from Bihari farmers, but then they process it and they sell it at exorbitant prices. Okay, exorbitant prices. And why are they able to sell it at exorbitant prices? Well, because for a very simple reason, there is high demand for makhanas among fitness enthusiasts, right? Now, most of these food processing units are in Punjab. Now, the catch is, you see, 90% makhanas are produced in Bihar, but the money, maximum money that is being earned in Punjab or Assam. Largest exporter of makhanas is Punjab and Assam in India, though production is in Bihar. And the reason is because Bihar does not have enough food processing units. So you need to focus on this. Okay, you need to focus on productivity issues. You need to provide good market linkages and good price discovery to farmers so that farmers earn more. If farmers would earn more and more farmers would grow makhanas. Today they receive very little money for makhanas. That is why very little farmers opt for makhana production. Okay. Plus, it involves a lot of breaking work also. A lot of labor is involved in this. Therefore, many farmers who can afford opt out of makhana production. But if they'll get good prices, if there is good technology so as to reduce labor, more and more farmers will produce makhana and India will be able to capitalize on this growing demand, right? High input cost labor. So what will this makhana board do? Well, government allocated a budget of 100 crore for this makhana board in Bihar. It will train farmers so that their productivity increases. It will make them more export oriented so that farmers can directly contact exporters and export this crop, earn a better income. It will create an ecosystem for investment in food processing infrastructure, export infrastructure, and whatnot, so that Bihari farmers make the most of makhana production. All right, makes sense? And with that, we conclude this topic as well. Okay.